used to think that 75 was a gentle number, round, symmetrical, the kind of number you'd see on a speed limit sign or a birthday candle. I don't think that anymore. Now I know that 75 is the number of seconds it takes for a person to stop being a person, to forget their own name, to forget the faces of everyone they've ever loved. I learned this in a room with white walls and a one-way mirror, a room that smelled of bleach and something else, something sweet, something that reminded me of the inside of a pumpkin after Halloween, when the flesh has started to soften and the seeds have gone dark. My grandmother was in that room. She was 75 years old when she forgot my name. She called me the nice young man who brings the flowers. I brought her flowers every Tuesday, yellow roses, her favorite. She would hold them to her face, inhale and say, "These smell like my wedding day." Then she'd look at me and ask who I was. I'd tell her, she'd nod, and 75 seconds later she'd ask again. I timed it, 75 seconds. Exactly every time. The doctors said it was the Alzheimer's. They said her short-term memory had deteriorated to the point where she could only hold a new piece of information for about a minute and 15 seconds. I believed them. I wanted to believe them because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was that the number 75 wasn't a symptom. It was a cause. The first time I saw the number outside of my grandmother's room was on a bus. I was riding home from the nursing home. The bus was nearly empty. An old man sat in the back, muttering to himself. A woman with a shopping cart sat near the front, and above the driver's seat, where the route number should have been, the digital display read 75. But it wasn't a bus route, it was just the number, glowing red, pulsing. I blinked. The display changed to the actual route number. I told myself I was tired. I was grieving. Grief plays tricks. The tricks got worse. I started seeing 75 everywhere. On receipts, on clocks, on the spines of books I'd never read, on the license plates of cars that seemed to follow me. But the worst was the mirror. Every morning, when I brushed my teeth, the steam on the bathroom mirror would form the number 75. Not clearly, just a suggestion, a ghost of a digit. I'd wipe it away. The next morning, it would be back. On the 75th day of my grandmother's stay in the nursing home, she stopped speaking entirely. Not just forgetting, silencing. Her mouth would open, her lips would move, but no sound came out. The doctors ran tests. They said her vocal cords were fine. Her brain was still active, but something was blocking the connection. Something they couldn't see, something they couldn't measure. I stayed with her that night. I held her hand. Her skin was papery and cool. Her eyes were open, but they weren't looking at anything. They were looking inward. At the number, I could feel it in the room, in the air, in the silence between her failed breaths. At 7:50 p.m., she sat up, her eyes focused on me. For the first time in months, she recognized me. She said my name, clear as a bell, and then she said, 75 is the number of the fold, the place where memory ends and something else begins. I've been there. I've seen it. Don't follow me. She lay back down. Her eyes closed. Her chest stopped rising. The heart monitor flatlined. The nurses rushed in. They tried to resuscitate her. They couldn't. She was gone. But the number wasn't. It stayed on the heart monitor, 75. Not a flat line. A number. Blinking. Blinking. I left the nursing home. I drove home. I sat in my dark living room and stared at the wall. The number 75 was carved into the plaster. I hadn't carved it. It was just there, as if it had always been there, as if the wall had grown around it like a tree growing around a nail. I touched the carving. The plaster was warm. It pulsed once, twice, 75 times per minute. The same as my grandmother's resting heart rate. The same as mine. I pressed harder. The plaster crumbled. Behind it was not drywall studs, not insulation. It was a hallway, narrow, dim. The walls were covered in photographs. Photographs of my grandmother at every age, as a baby, as a child, as a bride, as a mother, as an old woman in a hospital bed. And in every photograph she was looking at the camera, but her eyes were empty, not closed, empty, like the photographs were taken after she'd already forgotten how to see. I stepped into the hallway. The photographs rustled as I passed. The faces turned to follow me. Not my grandmother's faces. The numbers, the 75s, they were written on every photograph, in the corners, in the margins, in the pupils of her eyes. The hallway ended at a door, white, featureless, no knob, no handle, just a keyhole. I knelt down and put my eye to the keyhole. On the other side was a room, my grandmother's hospital room, but it was empty. The bed was made. The flowers were gone. The heart monitor was gone. In their place was a single object, a clock, old, wooden, the kind with a pendulum, and on the face of the clock, instead of numbers, there was only one digit, 75. The pendulum swung. Each swing lasted 75 seconds. Tick, tick, tick. I tried to open the door. I tried to break it down. Nothing. I pressed my ear to the wood. I heard a voice, my grandmother's voice, faint, distant. She was counting. 75, 74, 73. Counting down, I woke up on my living room floor. The wall was intact. No carving, no hallway, no door. But my hand was sore, so my knuckles scraped to my ears were ringing. A low hum. 75 of the clock, the frequency of the countdown. I went back to the nursing home the next day. I asked to see my grandmother's room. They said it was already occupied by a new patient, a man, 75 years old. He'd been admitted the night before. He didn't know his name. He didn't know the year. He didn't know why he was there, but kept repeating one thing, over and over. 75. 75. I looked through the window in his door. He was sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. The same wall where my grandmother's heart monitor had blinked its final number. The man was mumbling. I leaned closer. His words resolved. 75 is the number of the fold, he said. The place where memory ends. I've been there. I've seen it. Don't follow me. The same words, the exact same words. I backed away from the door. The nurse looked at me strangely. Are you all right? She asked. I said yes. I lied. I drove home. I haven't slept since. That was 3 weeks ago. I've been researching the number 75. It's not just a number, it's a threshold. In some old texts, it's called the veil number, the point at which the distance between the living and the dead becomes thin enough to step through. Them 5 days after a person dies, their memory begins to fade from the world. 75 years after a person is born, they start to forget themselves. And 75 seconds after a person stops speaking, they start to speak somewhere else. In the walls, in the photographs, in the keyhole of a door that shouldn't exist. I found a journal in my grandmother's attic, hidden in a box of Christmas ornaments. The journal was old. The pages were brittle. The handwriting was hers. The first entry was dated 75 years ago, the day she turned 18. It read, I heard the number today. It came from the radio, static. Then a voice. It said 75. I didn't know what it meant. Now I do. It's the number of years I have before I forget, before I step through the door. I'm going to write everything down, so that when I'm gone, someone will know, someone will understand. The last entry was dated the day she entered the nursing home. It read, I can feel the fold. It's close. 75 seconds between remembering and forgetting. I've been counting. I've been trying to hold on, but the number is stronger. It's pulling me. I can see the door. I can see the clock. I can see the pendulum swinging. 75, 74, 73. Don't follow me. Don't listen to the hum. Don't count the seconds. If you hear the number, cover your ears, close your eyes. Forget you ever saw it, because once you know 75, it knows you, and it's very patient. I closed the journal. The cover had the number 75 burned into the leather. I touched it. It was warm. It pulsed. I counted the pulses, 75 per minute, the same as my heart, the same as the clock in the room behind the door. I'm writing this because I know what's coming. The number is in my head now. It's been there since the day my grandmother first forgot my name. I thought it was grief. I thought it was memory. I was wrong. It's an invitation to step through the fold, to the place where memory ends, to the room with the clock and the pendulum, and the 75 seconds between each tick. I've been counting, not the days, the seconds. 75 seconds between each time I forget something. First it was my keys, then it was my phone number, then it was the name of the street where I grew up. Yesterday, I forgot my wife for 75 seconds. I looked at her across the dinner table, and I didn't know who she was. Then the seconds passed, and I remembered, but the gaps are getting longer. The fold is getting closer. Tonight, I heard the hum, 7 to 5 hertz, coming from the wall, coming from the mirror, coming from the space between my thoughts. I pressed my ear to the bedroom wall. The drywall was warm. It crumbled. Behind it was the hallway, the photographs, the door, the keyhole. I looked through. The clock was there. The pendulum swung. 75 seconds per swing. And on the bed in the room sat my grandmother. She was young again, 18. She was smiling. She waved at me. She said my name. "Don't be afraid," she said. "The fold is not an ending. It's a beginning." 75 is the number of the threshold, and thresholds are for crossing. I've been waiting for you. We all have. Everyone who ever forgot, everyone who ever counted. We are here, on the other side, and it's beautiful. No memory, no pain, just the number, just the hum, just the forever between the ticks. I pulled back from the keyhole. The wall sealed itself. The hum faded, but not completely. It never completely fades. It's in my bones now, in my blood, in the spaces between my synapses. 75 seconds from now, I'll forget I wrote this. 75 seconds after that, I'll forget I forgot. And 75 seconds after that, I'll step through the door. Maybe you'll step through too. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday, when you've counted enough seconds, when you've forgotten enough names, when the number has worn a hole in your memory big enough to climb through. Listen, can you hear it? The hum, the low, constant hum. 75 hertz. It's coming from the walls. It's coming from the mirror. It's coming from the space between these words. Don't cover your ears. Don't close your eyes. It's too late. You already know the number. You've always known it. You just didn't have a name for it until now. 75. It's not a number. It's a door. And it's always been open. I'll see you on the other side. In the room with the clock. In the space between the ticks. Bring flowers. Yellow roses. My grandmother will know what they mean. Even if I don't.